February 5th, 2023, there's going to be a dramatic, explosive, revolutionary, intense, but healing moon. Yes, a full moon in Leo. And it's going to bring into each of our lives some pretty revolutionary moments of pivotal change. And we're going to talk about how that works in your sky based on your sun, moon, and rising sign. So stay tuned for that. Your rising sign will always be the most accurate. This moon is lined up to some really interesting asteroids that I can't believe are happening in the sky. Orcus and Asclepia and Pan, as in pandemic, Albion, the high hill of the giants where we keep doing things in rote motion without thinking about why. And of course, Orcus, the punisher, broken oaths, but also breaking against the rules of the establishment. So much going on in this video, but in your own lives, it could also just look like a personal breakthrough in money, a massive change in your love story, a disruption of the status quo, but to open up you up to something better and new and healing. So before we go ahead and do this, if you're new to my channel, I am Lori Lothian. I am a Hellenistic astrologer using whole sign houses. I'm using the tropical Western zodiac, not sidereal. I suggest you definitely know your rising sign. If you don't know how to cast your chart, do that using my free tutorial down below. Grab it. I'll teach you in 5 minutes how to, as long as you have your birth time, find your rising sign. And then you can also add your sun and moon when you listen today. Sun can be about father figures, purpose and career. Moon can be about mother figures, and how you feel and your safety and security needs. But the rising sign is the thing that's about you. It represents when the 2 to 2.5 hour window in which you came onto the earth plane, whereas the sun is, everyone has the same sun sign during a 30-day window, the same moon sign during a 2.5-day window. So you can see how the rising sign can be much more intimate and more personal to you. All right, so as we get going now, I'm going to start with the big picture story. Some of you like this stuff, the mundane or the world astrology. Some of you are not into it. If you really don't want to stick around, well, I guess you can jump ahead, but try to stick around a little bit because I want to also talk about how a full moon energy works in general. And then we'll do a mundane astrology, and then we'll talk about Aries through Pisces. Okay, first let's talk about, if you're new here, hit my like button and subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. Extremely helpful for helping my channel grow. And everything about me, courses I'm teaching, my schedule for my readings, all of that is down below. I'm unfortunately booked up now all the way through April. Maybe I have 3 or 4 spots left in April. It just happens to be that my practice has boomed in the last few months. Well, the last 4 years. Okay, so to go into detail about the concept of a full moon, as a theme, it's actually the fullness from the planting of the seeds of the new moon. Just like, the new, the full, it's a cycle, and it's the opposite energy of the new, which is where we always do meditations and vision boards, and we're like new moon ceremony, and then comes the full moon, where now we're hopefully seeing a harvest or a fruition or fruiting of the seeds that were planted during the new moon in Leo. The new moon in Leo, July 28th, 2022, add a couple of weeks after as things in your life unfolded, is probably in some way connected to what's happening now. And you may be able to connect the dots now, like, oh yeah, July into the first 2 weeks of August, this is what I was doing, and how could this connect right now? So if you want to do it that way, that's always a good standard for understanding how this lunar cycle connects dots from 6 months earlier. Full moons are about the continuation and completion or expansion and fullness of something you started, in this case, roughly the first couple of weeks of July. All right. This moon is happening in Leo. Leo means king, leader, courage, daring, big-hearted energy. It's fire, initiative. The Leo energy is ruled by the sun. The sun often represents kings and leaders. Of course, Leo itself represents kings and leaders, and the sun is in Leo. The moon is in Leo, and the sun is in Aquarius. So the sun is in a sign that we consider to be, because it's opposite the moon, right? The light of the sun opposite the moon creates the full moon effect. Aquarius is considered to be a sun in a sign of detriment. Now, you can argue that's crazy. What about all you Aquarius sun people? Do you really think it's in detriment? But the idea is that the sun would like to be in Leo. Why would the sun want to be in Leo? Well, in Northern Hemisphere cosmology, it's the summer. It's high, hot, super warm weather where the sun is in its fullness. And it's like loving up the world with solar rays in the middle of the summer. and it's high in the noon. It's higher in the sky in the northern hemisphere than it is in the winter when it's low on the horizon. Aquarius season, like Capricorn season, is Aquarius and Capricorn are winter seasons in the northern hemisphere. Secondly, that's also Saturn time, Capricorn Aquarius seasons, and Saturn and the sun are not exactly the natural allies. Saturn is cold and dry and stern and withholding and contained and restrictive, and the sun tends to want to bust all out and be like, I am leader, hear me roar. I am vitality, I'm life force. There's a disconnect between the solar energy at the heart of our solar system and Saturn, which is considered to be the furthest planet with ease that we can see. You can sort of squint to see Uranus sometimes in the heavens, okay? So the edge of the visible solar system. All right, so that's a cosmology of the concept of this moon in this Leo space. It's at 16 degrees of Leo. If you know anything about the tarot, the 16th degree is about the tower, the kaboom, the lightning strike that kajooms through reality. And it's new beginning. So what new beginnings are we having through some kind of disruption of the status quo, some cataclysmic lightning bolts of change? And it's a particularly change-oriented full moon because it is square Uranus. Uranus is already the revolutionary freedom fighter, rule-breaking iconoclast, already has that energy sitting in the fixed sign of Taurus, which is not its comfort zone. It's like Uranus is taking a jackhammer to a place that is really hard to change. Taurus is a fixed sign, change is not preferred, status quo and steady as she goes in the known world is Taurian, and yet Uranus is not that. So Uranus, the sky god who gave birth to his son Saturn, is literally like out of sync with fixed Taurus earth energy. And in fact, Uranus is a sky god. He represents Uranus, the god of the heavens. And hey, I mean, Taurus is about the earth. So there's this disconnect. And so nonetheless, what would you say is happening? Like the cryptocurrency up levels and debacles, the ups and downs of cryptocurrency, Taurus stuff. That is what Uranus has been doing. He's been lugging it all up. First crypto is here since 2019 when Uranus entered Taurus, and then it's like up, and then it's falling to the depths of the bottom of its highs, and disruption. But more importantly than saying crypto was turbulent, we could say that Uranus was trying to bring in a decentralized power to the people currency when he moved into Taurus in 2019, and it's going to be leaving that part of the sky in 2026. Okay, so what's going on here? I'm going to show you a picture of the sky before we do the all signs, and then we're going to move into you guys. I know a lot of you are just like, get around to me, but learn a little astrology. And if you're in the live premiere, would you mind hitting my like button? It would be so freaking amazing, because it does like actually boost the algorithm so that when this goes out after we've been chatting together in the live, it has more boost. That's all. And it helps my channel grow. And this is my livelihood. Right, here we go. We want to get ad-free content from me. Join my Patreon community for $5 a month, early access before the public, ad-free, plus a couple meetings a month with me at the $5 tier in live calls. Why not join? All right, so here's the transit chart. Basically, it's the moon chart for February 5th. It's around 10:30 a.m. in Vancouver, Canada, that the moon is full in Leo at 16 degrees. And this is where I live. So this chart is cast for the fullness of the moon around 10:30 in the morning. And at the time of day here, Taurus is rising on the eastern horizon. That's the rising ascendant sign in Vancouver when this moon occurs. It'll be different in Washington, D.C. and other places. Now, the moon is full and it's alone, more or less, in Leo. Hang in there. But you can see that the moon is creating a T-square as it opposes the sun and squares Uranus. And there are asteroids I've added to the narrative, which we'll be talking about. This is a kind of a hot junction of real estate here, the Taurus part where Uranus is sitting, because the North Node has been here as well since all of 2022 into July of 23. This has been creating a tremendous amount of electricity, change, and disruption in agriculture, food supply, currencies, potentially the stock market can connect it to Taurus as well as Capricorn. So there's a lot of discombobulation in the Taurus part of the sky for the world since 2022 January. And in fact, if you go back to the summer, the last week of July and the first week of August, that was when that North Node and Uranus were co-joined with Mars on in that part of Taurus. And that was, I think, around 16, if I remember correctly, degrees of Taurus, or 17 degrees of Taurus. And the point of that is that is a very hot spot that the moon is touching down with. You know, Mars, Uranus, North Node connection in Taurus in the last week of July and the first week of August of 22 was something that we haven't seen a triple conjunction like that since the time of Alexander the Great, so a couple of thousand years ago. So it was very rare. And you know, Mars is about change and cutting and ending and conflict and fights, basically. And Uranus is about revolution and dramatic change. And the North Node is about destiny. So that is in play with this full moon. So if you go back to your life in the last week of July and the first week of August, what was going on? As I already said, there was a new moon seated on July 28th, but also the Taurus North Node Mars activation is being kind of re-entered into. What kind of dramatic life changes were you experiencing? So here, the moon in Leo will be one of your 12 houses, and each of those houses has meaning. Let's talk about the world before we get going, because the moon is going to create the change momentum in the place where it sits. Let's talk about the world. Now, if you are going to accuse me at any point during this video of being a anti-vaxxer or a conspiracy theorist, cease and desist. What I'm really liking about reality now is some of the things that were called misinformation and disinformation are becoming known fact, like the fact that the virus is 90% likely came out of a lab in Wuhan. If you don't know that's true by now, then you are somehow under a rock. So as we get going through this little portion of the video, maybe 4 minutes, I'm going to know that some of you are going to unsubscribe or get upset with me, but I have to be honest about what the sky suggests. Asclepius is the healer of the ancient mythology who trained Chiron and created healers and mentored the healers and heroes of Chiron, who mentored the healers and Chiron, who mentored the healers and heroes of the ancient world. Okay, he mentored Asclepius. So Asclepius is god of healing, but he's also god of medicine. And wherever you see him in the chart, you can look at the word medical procedures or medicine as one of the meanings of the asteroid Asclepius on this sun in Aquarius, sun in detriment, looking across at the moon. The moon is reflecting a symbol for medical stuff as well as a sun. This little asteroid is Lucifer. Now, there's two ways to look at Lucifer: the myth of the light bringer, the light bearer, the brightest, shiniest angel. But also Lucifer is a rebellious god or angel who rebelled against heaven. So there's already an element of rebellion. Of course, Lucifer was also prideful and arrogant. So is there some kind of prideful, arrogant solar figure leader connected to rules and establishment for society, Saturn, who is going to have some kind of story that comes out into the news? Like what? I don't know, Michelle Walensky, head of the CDC, another Fauci story coming up, even though he's retired. Like, I really can't tell you what it is, but solar figures with Saturn are institutional solar figures, like the head of the CDC, the head of the FDA, the head of Pfizer, the head of Moderna, the head of some institutional structure. And because Saturn has been in Aquarius since March of 2018, but full-time since December of March of 2019, but full-time since December. Oh, my brain, I'm so sorry. March of 2020, Saturn entered Aquarius. But in December 2020, he got in there full-time. What we saw were pandemic lockdowns and restrictions. We saw vaccine mandates and passports. We saw forced control of the people around rules and regulations around pandemic structures, including medical procedures called vaccination. Now, here you see that the Sun and Saturn and Asclepia and the rebel angel are all in one story. They're all happening in one story, and they're squaring rebellious Uranus, who breaks the status quo and sends lightning bolts of shock and change to the world. What is Uranus doing with this little squiggly dude with his little horns here? This is pan for pandemic. Yeah, pandemonium and panic, but pan-frigging-demic. Why is Uranus sitting with pandemic, squaring a medical sign like Asclepia, which means medical procedures or medical stuff? Why is there a light bringer angel? Is he bringing the light? Is he arrogant and prideful and going for a fall? Is he, what's he doing up there? I don't know. And there's a solar figure, solar sun, Saturn sun figures. It's the head of some organization coming into the news cycle, 90% likely, okay? 90% likely. And if we really want to talk about news cycles just for fun, since I'm already there and I know I'm losing a few of you who think I'm a nut job, but I'm not. Wait till you get to the conspiracy god here. We'll add that too. So, and then over here is Orcus, the punisher of broken oaths. But he's also not just the punisher of broken oaths. And he's talking to this story, not to the moon, but he's talking over here to this rebellious energy that's going on with Uranus. If I was to give you some Orcus stories, it would look like this. Orcus is a god of the underworld, punisher of broken oaths, challenging established authorities. Okay, so again, we're talking about the challenging established authority narrative. I need to make my screen smaller for a minute. Give me a sec. So there's Orcus, and I could annotate that for you. He's challenging the established authorities and he punishes the broken oaths. There's this kind of rebellious vibe going on here. And there's this healing shit up here, or some kind of disruption with regards to someone in power connected to the medical establishment. And with the angel up here, there could be a rebellion amongst the people. Like maybe there's going to be a breaking away with the FDA and what they're suggesting. I'm recording on January 26th. Patreon community gets this first. Despite a signal showing that bivalent boosters were having an increased risk of stroke in people over 50, and people, this is the news, not Lori making this up. The FDA is now there with the CDC in a press conference I was listening to before I came on here with you on the 26th, saying they're not going to stop halting the vaccines or suggesting people not get them. They're just going to think about it a bit more. All right, you know what I mean? So there could be some disruption within those institutions of people breaking away like whistleblowers or rebels. All right, and then let's go ahead and look at this little story over here. Okay, we have some stories going on. We have pan for pandemic. That's obviously self-evident. But then we have, oh, my annotation. And we need to get off of my annotation. So give me a minute. I don't know why someone would possibly come into my Zoom room, given I have nothing going on at this time. End annotation. I'm sorry, guys. I have to figure that one out. Yeah, well, it'll take me a while at this rate because I'm definitely haven't. Oh, undo. Maybe undo the annotation. Goodbye annotation. There we go. I think I'm out. Anyway, the other thing I was going to say to you is this. Let's talk about this dude right here and get some stories going about Albion. Albion are the giants of yore that hung out on the high hills of ancient England. Okay, so you think, well, what does that have to do? High hills, ancient England, giants of yore, Albion. What could he have to say about rebellion and structures that are going into, a lot of energy? It actually is connected to when we're on autopilot and we do things without thinking. We just do the thing without stopping or thinking. We go for the routine and the rote way, and yet Uranus is disrupting anything that has been rote, routine, autopilot, like, just not questioning the way things are, maybe. And lastly, I want to talk about a seer, a lapith, a seer that's in this story. And that's going to kind of seal the deal on the collective narrative, and then you can get your all sign stuff going. Okay, so I'm going to pause the recording because I'm going to do it in front of you. I forgot to put this seer in here, and he is in this story. So a seer, being someone who sees the future, is embedded in the narrative, and I'm going to add him to the picture so we can all see him as soon as I find him. He's in here. I was reading this morning and I forgot to add him to the picture for you guys to see him. And of course, now that I need to find him, I can't. Oh, maybe it was Nessus. Was it Nessus? Is he the one? No. Okay, so because I'm going to have to change the software to show it to you, I'll be right back. I'm just going to pause my recording. I'm back. I actually turned the light on. It's getting, it's dark. So it's Absolus. I can't say his name. And I want to talk just briefly about him. And then we're going to do you. And don't forget, your story is never going to be like, this dramatic, public thing with revolutions and disclosures and whistleblowers. Your story is going to be just about a big part of your life that goes through a dramatic but heartfelt leonine change that's connected to things that were going on in July and August. So let's just finish up with this old story here. I want to talk about this guy. So this little squiggly dude, these asteroids look so funny. The circle with the arrow in it is Absolus. Now, what I think I want to bring up here, no, he's not talking to the moon per se. No, he's not talking to this big change and revolution in Taurus energy either. But what he is talking to is Saturn. As Saturn is the lord of the house of the sun, where this whole disruption of some kind of status quo to do with leadership or institutions or rules and medical stuff and rebellions with Lucifer up there, or Lucifer, the light bringer shedding a light on something. All of that is connected to Saturn because he's at home in his home. So he's got a say about this shit, excuse my language. And so he has a big conversation going right now, pretty exact with Absolus. And I'm just going to read it to you from the software rather than try to convince you of anything. This is a centaur who was a seer and who foresaw a wedding that led to a battle between the Lapis and the centaurs. So this asteroid means sensing that things may be going awry or that there are serious issues that are being hidden. Accepting your vision may not be real. Your vision may be only that, nothing more. Although I don't know why the software developer says that, because this seer was right and his vision about the wedding that caused the war was true. And then she goes on to write, or he does, feelings of persecution for your beliefs and perceiving conspiracies, real or imagined. Now think of all of that in the context of all the other players in the sky. And all I can say is something's happening in the couple of weeks after February 5th to do with disclosures, rebellion, rule breaking, disruption, shock and awe, shifts of things to do with this medical procedures for the pandemic or the pandemic itself, or the narrative about the pandemic or something like that. So that's one thing I could have applied this equally to the war in Ukraine or the situation between China and Taiwan. I can't do everything. This speaks so strongly of medical stuff, whether you have an opinion about anything or not, something seems to be happening in the news. So let's see what it is. Don't forget, it's a full moon taking off from events that were happening in July and August. Probably in July and August, but I can't remember, they were announcing the rollout of the bivalent boosters in most of the world, or certainly in the United States, and CDC was recommending them and putting it on their childhood vaccination list of all things. That keeps the Pfizer and Moderna from indemnity if they put it on a regular schedule list. Actually, if you don't know this, then I think also the government can't be sued, nor can the companies that created vaccines. So anyway, just stuff like that. It was coming out in the news cycle in July and August. And the reason I'm talking about it is now it's coming full circle with a full moon. So that's my mundane astrology forecast section, which I'm sure I just lost at least a chunk of you who think I'm a nutcase. But, why don't you just reserve judgment about this and just wait and see what happens rather than think that I'm wrong or I'm right. Just wait and see. I could be wrong. I'm okay with being wrong. You know that? I'm not attached to being right. So let's move on and let's get the story going for each sign. I'm not going to share this because I got a new system that I really like where I just changed my background and you can see the sign instead of squinting at a little picture and going, is that Taurus on her screen? That's not what we're going to do. Now, I seem to have some weird extra thing going on. I don't know if you guys can see me properly. I want to close I had someone coming in. I have a Patreon community meeting in 2 hours, and all I can imagine is that person got the time wrong. That's the only thing I can think of. Someone's trying to ding in while I'm recording. Okay, so to move ahead and talk about Aries first, and oops, did you hear that sound? Sun, moon, and rising secondarily. Aries rising first, sun, moon secondarily. We'll start with you. And let me see if I can concoct a reasonable narrative that makes sense. And I'm not going to include all the stuff that has to do necessarily with the pandemic, but what I will say is that where Asclepius goes, healing goes. And the sun is conjunct a very powerful, profound, almost raise the dead level healer, okay? And in fact, he was even connected to Panacea, that's the cure for everything, which was his daughter. So we have a super powerful asteroid that connects to the sun that suggests that you may have a healing. The moon is reflecting the light of a healing archetype in the Leo part of your sky. And I will talk about disruption and change in the Taurus part of your sky. All right, and that's how we're going to proceed in today's video. And I'm not going to change it for Aries because I have ram heads behind me. So clearly it's Aries, and then we'll keep changing for Taurus. All right, and we're going to go quickly on today's video. If you want more details about February, my All Signs February videos will be coming out on January the 27th. And by the time you're listening to this, they will be out. And we'll go into a lot more detail about the year ahead, the month ahead for you in your sign. Each video is about 20 minutes. Why don't you check that out to get a lot more detail? Plus, like and subscribe. Thank you. Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. All right, and I'm having a hard time seeing what I'm doing. That light is a little bit bright, but let's see if I can move it to a different spot. That'll have to do. Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, so where the light of the moon shines at 16 degrees of your fifth house is in the house of romantic love. the house of pregnancy, the house of your children, the house of your creative and independent business enterprise, the house of your creative and inspiration, like the things you do, like muse, art, creativity. So a full moon here will capitalize or continue something that happened around the new moon on the 28th of July at 2 weeks. And so what were you planting as a seed in the fifth house? Was it a romance seed, a relationship with a child, a pregnancy seed, or an attempt to have a child, or some creative project, or even a business enterprise, new endeavor? And if you go back to the seeds that you were planting back then, Aries, you'll see now something is coming to a fullness or even a completion here. Now, I can use me as an example. I did start a new romance then in the summer, July, August, and in fact ties in very well with this. And it was something that I pulled away from as time progressed as an Aries like you guys, Aries sun and moon actually. And it may just spell that I'm making a decisive change or fullness in this relationship, as it may come to a completion or something like that. Just an example. Because there's the involvement of Uranus, there's a lot of shock and awe here, or a lot of unexpected change, or a lot of catapults to change, right? And that Uranus change agent, rebellion, freedom, give me freedom, agent is sitting with the North Node in the second house. Now, this is a house of speech. So if it comes to like a breakup story, you're going to have to speak alarmingly, shockingly that this thing isn't going to work, or you could say that it's a money house. And now the full moon is in a money house. And it can be lucky money, like winning the lottery. And I will say that because this is happening with a healing Asclepius, we don't mind that, on the sun, from your 11th house of pennies from heaven and windfalls, there will be a few Aries experiencing a healing dose of money. A spoonful of money makes the medicine go down. Anyway, a healing dose of financial windfall energy. Okay, full moon, a big light, a big bright spot in the sky to do with money, luck, and windfalls and winning. And of course, a shock and awe of a lightning bolt through your second house of resources and possession. So yay, that definitely look like a positive way to spin this for you. Although, it may be alarmingly exciting, right? Because sometimes exhilaration and excitement are Uranian. It's that old expression, fear is excitement without the breath. That could be what's going on for some of you. Okay, if you didn't expect to get pregnant with Uranus in a square to the moon in the house of fertility, shockingly you are, or your partner shows up with a positive pregnancy test in hand. So, I don't know for sure, but that was one way this definitely could play out. And so there you go. And if you are in business endeavors and make your own money, this could be a really nice intensity around a shocking but exciting way to increase your earnings through your business enterprise. And it could even look like an aha or an idea. Uranus in the second house is also destabilizing, but also increasing money for you, because sometimes Uranus is the rags to riches thing. Some of you could have a rags to riches in this particular moon if you're Leo, Aries rising sun or moon. I would say with the idea that you have Saturn in dignity in the 11th house with the sun, it could be an exceptional friend, ally, or somebody in power that has a favor or a prospect for you that's going to help you dramatically increase your earnings and revenue and succeed in fifth house matters, including creativity, enjoyment, joy, play, pleasure, all of that. So, friends from allies and benefactors in the house of good spirit, your 11th, that are very healing for you in some way, look like a possibility as well. So tell me how it goes in the comments after you experience this maybe positive disruptive moon energy. And I would love to know, because it could be something positive. And yes, a square is an energy of action and friction. So sometimes it's like, oh my God, it's like I got to do something to get going on this thing. Is that true? Maybe. Let me know how it goes. It's definitely a very pronounced and dramatic energy when you see a T-square connecting to a full moon. All right, and I'm going to move this now. Let's see if I can do this with you guys. What I'm going to try to do without having to stop the video, I just want to move the backdrop image without losing touch with you guys. Let's see if I can just pull this off today. I think I have. There we go. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. In the narrative of you, you're experiencing a big, bright, full Leo moon at 16 tower-like degrees of your fourth house of property, land, home, real estate, inheritance, legacy monies can be here. Your family of origin, your hometown, your mom especially is the fourth house. So if the moon is in the house of the mother, the fourth house, then there's a possibility that this is a lot to do with your mother or a mother figure in your life. But it's also your nest or where you live and your home that you live in. And so there's disruption, but the disruption energy of Uranus is coming from your agency. It's coming through you. You may just say, Mom, you have to move out, or you may just decide to sell your home or buy another home or move your home or change something around your home. You know, there's the energy as well of this sort of sense here that you have a healing 10th house energy, like Asclepia on the sun with Saturn, maybe healing your reputation in the world or healing your status in the world as regards to career or reputation or visible actions you've been taking in the world. And with this sense of healing, I mean, we do have Lucifer, the light bringer. Is he bringing a positive healing light, or is he bringing a rebellion? But any which way, it could definitely look like some positive career success that really shows up in how you are able to cope with your mother, your home, your real estate, your property storylines. You know, Venus is in the house of good spirit where she's exalted at the time of this moon. She's not participating perfectly. She is sextiling the big jolt of lightning that hits you from Taurus, her kingdom. And in that sense, I probably would say, and I should have said this for Aries too, that for most of us, the spin is more positive than negative. An exalted Venus flowing towards the jolt of Uranian change and disruption suggests that she's backing up some positive stories here. So you may have a sudden jolt of change, basically, in regards to your home. But it's regarding things that were in play both the last week of July, the first week of August, and more importantly, stimulated by the July 28th new moon at 2 weeks. So a lot was going on then that is being recapitulated now. And so what were you doing regarding things to do with your property, home, and real estate, and your mother, and your family of origin, and even things to do with inheritance monies? Sometimes this also activates loans, mortgages, etc., especially with Venus in the 11th, exalted squaring the house of loans, legal mortgages, borrowing money, credit card debts and stuff like that. In fact, Venus owned your house of debts, the 6th house. So some of you may be looking at a dramatic opportunity to pay off a debt. Now, I don't know, squares are hard. I can't pretend they're not. So North Node is intense as well. This is all a very fated and destined story. Maybe there's going to be some compromises financially that you need to make, or difficult times around finances that are jarring and jolting you. But I think with Asclepius, the healer across from this moon, ultimately is going to take you in the right direction, one that seems very healing. Alrighty, I'm going to keep going. This is not my longest video, guys. Hopefully, if you're in the chat with me and you haven't hit the like button, my reminder right now to punch my like button is getting received and acted upon. Thank you to all my beautiful regulars from around the world: Misbehaving, Stephen the Jupiterian, the Feral Writer, of so many of you, One West Lady, One Rare Bird, you know who you are, Kelly K. If you're in the chat at all during this premiere, thank you for being here. Alrighty, so we've got everybody, guys. We've got Turkey, Scotland, England, South Africa. I love a community. I'm Aquarius rising. Oh, we're moving on. I have to change the little screen. Gemini. No, Gemini. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign folk. All right, so moving into your story, what happens when a full Leo moon at a tower-like energy happens in your 3rd house of siblings, trips, travel, and skills-based education? Well, first of all, you can have sudden opportunity to travel, and it may be like, wow, bolt of lightning, like, oh my God, I got a free trip. I've got a chance to take this journey. This came out of the blue. I'm recording this on January 26th, and I just got an offer from a friend to rent her place in the Dominican Republic, and it may be that even I don't have to wait for the moon on February 5th, but that represents me actually saying yes or finding my tickets or something. And here we have the idea that things to do with siblings and singles, cousins, trips, and travel may have been percolating already back, like you planted seeds that you wanted to take a trip or connect with a sibling or take a skills-based learning or class or teach one. And you planted those seeds last July, August, and now they're sprouting big time, especially the first couple of weeks of August. And so full moon light is shining here in the 3rd house. And 3rd house is online world and virtual neighborhood and real neighborhood as well. People close to you, your neighbors, right? Back in July, August, I was thinking of changing my neighborhood quite dramatically to move back to Ontario because I was visiting Ontario at the time and feeling this nostalgia for my province that I grew up in. But here I am back in Vancouver, Canada, where I've been since 2003. So much for that. But maybe I'll think about my local neighborhood. Oh, why am I talking about me? Because I have my son progressed to Gemini, and maybe go, oh my God, I think I found the ideal neighborhood I want to live in Vancouver, or something like that. Now, what you can also say is the disruptive lightning bolt energy is in a house of foreign lands, as well as the sun. There are two foreign lands houses, the 12th and the 9th. Now, the 12th tends to be more like religious pilgrimage, going off to the temple of Apollo, seeking God in a foreign land, going to the foreign land to find truth and wisdom. It's also your house of academia. It's also your house of book publishing. It's also the house of a father figure. Sun is in its joy, but it is Aquarian detriment in that house right now for all of you Geminis. And it's flowing the sun toward your Gemini ascendant sun or moon. So there's a lot of goodness going on here, obviously. And of course, if you're a Gemini sun, moon, and rising around the 16th degree, you're going to feel a lot of flow from both the sun and the moon to you. So Gemini people are not feeling too disrupted, all right, from this particular moon, more invigorated. And, the 12th house foreign lands is kind of like the old foreign shores that you do barter and trade with, like the spice trade, right? The spice caravan. And so do you have any foreign land revenue streams? I do. So there's a jolt of excitement or exhilaration from that part of your sky, but you can also have an insight, a download, a spiritual revelation, something coming to you in your dreams, an aha that impacts something you want to write or teach or communicate online, full moon in the 3rd house, or take a trip, a journey to a foreign land, or Uranus in the 12th, moon in the house of trips and travel, sun in the house of foreign shores as well. If you're writing a book, this could be a huge download or idea. If you have an online platform, you may have a revolutionary thought about how you want to change the structure of how you use your online platform. Venus is exalting you in your 10th house of career. So a lot of Geminis are getting a lot of love at work from superiors and colleagues and females in your workspace, or getting a little bit famous or well received in your career right now, and visible public reputation. So it's kind of a nice one. I'm going to say for the most part, for all of you Geminis, it feels like a love up. And certainly a lot of you look like you're traveling and getting the opportunity to travel, come into your awareness in an exciting and exhilarating way. Let me know how that goes down for you, and let me know what happens. I'd love to hear back. In the comments, guess what? I read all my comments. I answer all my comments. I respond to people. I don't get why people on YouTube don't do that. Like, they put all this comment and they ask you to comment in the comment section, but they never even go back and check their comments. I don't think that's very authentic. I think that if people take the time to comment, said Geminis, the very verbal ones you are, that people should be actually responding, like we are on YouTube. No, I can't do all comments and respond personally, but I do respond. I'll heart you, I'll like you. So I have a pet peeve about astrology channels or other channels in which there's never any response to your comments. So I like a few of my favorite astrologers like Maren Altman will heart or comment back. So, I've seen that with her. She's one of my faves. So I also shout out Astrology when she was a little bit less of a bigger channel about 3 or 4 years ago. Would take time to like and respond and comment to people as well. So it's important to me to be honoring that in my own practice of this channel. As Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising people, so you guys are having a story. And it is a story of a big full moon in your money house. Now, it's not a bad place to have a full moon, because this is where you're full. There's something harvesting and reaping and ripe here, and maybe even a completion of a longer term financial goal if you're a Cancer rising, especially, and then sun and moon secondarily. And in your case, this is probably connected to like the end of July and the beginning of August of 22, where you were planting some seeds in your money house. Go back and think about what were you doing, because I bet you will figure out how it may connect to this harvest season of the full moon. There is some excitement with Uranus, some jolts, some excitement, some revolutionary change, but it's coming from the house of eldest sibling, the 11th, friends and allies and benefactors, people who want to help you, give you favors, and it's coming from the house of your wishes and dreams and your great gains from your career. And with Jupiter traveling through your 10th house of career right now through to the middle of May, this could literally look like you put out something into the world, like you get a raise, a promotion, a great career gain that up-levels your finances. And if you're entrepreneurial, then of course that's true too. Now suddenly you're up-leveling the great gains from your career path. I don't think there's anything I can even say that looks scary about it. It looks exciting. And with Venus exalted in your 9th house, loving up this Uranian bolt of change, some of this could involve great gains that involve international or foreign shores as a word, or to do with women from foreign lands and foreign shores. Now, also, the energy here of the eighth house is where the sun is. And this is your money that you don't have from the daily day paycheck or salary kind of thing. Or it's more like your spousal shared resources, your stock investments, money that you get from inheritances. And the sun with the healing energy of Asclepius and the bright light bearer of Lucifer are shining toward that moon who's reflecting it. So is there any possibility that this is a story where you're healing some kind of thing to do with reliance on inheritance money, or reliance on spousal money, or reliance on like government grants or stipends or disability or even social insurance, or what do you call, I know we call social welfare programs? Also, because you're kicking ass, you're getting full in your earnings money house, right? You're making the money. But also there could be something here. I mean, insurance payouts can be the eighth house, and it could be that there's some kind of positive thing happening there. But the full moon is saying now you can buy a great new possession. You needed that insurance money, and now you can buy the new thing because your car was totaled, and now you can get a new car, or your house was flooded, but now you can get a new floor that you always wanted. I mean, this is making stuff up. It's weird ways this can work. For the most part, it uplevels your money in a shocking, exciting, positive way, with a little bit of a windfall vibe, with a Uranus shocking on North Node in the 11th house. But you may be finding that an eldest sibling or somebody who wants to be brotherly or sisterly to you in a social setting, larger social networks of friends and allies, is really assisting you to financially benefit. I'll use my sister as an example. She's Cancer rising. Her website is healingwithnancylynn.com. I'm going to be sending out a Valentine's newsletter, and my younger sister is going to be offering a reading in Lenormand Tarot for Valentine's. This is your person, and my sister Nancy is going to be offering a Valentine's Day reading special, and that will go to my large list of 5,000 subscribers. And that is something that could boost her. She's doing so well anyway, but it could send her into a new level of new clients. So that's an example, right? Where all of a sudden there's new cash flow coming through in February. All right, let's keep going and talk about the next sign. So let me change my screen and we keep going. Leos, of course, big hair, big hair. Never met a Leo rising, especially, who does not think that the hair matters. And I have fire. I have all these planets in Aries, and I have to say I do resonate. Thank you for all your suggestions about how to get my hair to go thick again after COVID. I just had hair fallout, not dramatic, but significant for me, from COVID in September, and I noticed it in December. And if you don't know why that happens, Leos, because your body, when it has a big illness, flu, sometimes viral illness, it'll say we can't make hair. We got to like heal and help the body. Hair is not the most important thing. So when you seem to be thinning your hair, it'll come back. It's just that your hair is no longer growing new hair as quickly, and the normal hair loss is just continuing. So for a while, you'll have thinner hair. That's the story. All right, so Leo, sun, moon, and rising. And if you're in the like, please hit my like button. If you're in the premiere, please hit my like button. Big full moon, jumbo sized in the house of you. What could that mean at 16 degrees, which is connected to some sudden developments? Well, first of all, it's in your house of your body and the house of your agency, your decisions, your sense of self. You're kind of in charge of what this is about. This is not being foisted on you as you're like sitting around biting your nails. You are full. You are full. You are bright. You are beaming a big light, and that light in the body and the personhood of you is coming from the sun in the house of your audience, your markets, your clients, your fans, your husband, your wife, your business partner, and they have a healer, Asclepius, right beside it, and they have the light bringer, Lucifer, there, which can be a bit of a rebel, but also there's very big, boastful, prideful feelings with Lucifer. So maybe a client is just freaking awed by you, and they're like totally full of light for you, and because you may have done something that has brought healing to their world, or your partner or your husband, and they want to reflect that, and you're going to show it up in a glow, a big glow up for you. It's a big glow up, and you are glowing, and it's exciting because Uranus in the 10th house of reputation and career suggests some of this is reflecting back in your public, from your public persona, or how people see you in the career and work field. Especially true for any Taurus with a midheaven in the sign, any Leo with a midheaven floating in the 10th whole sign house. But for all of you, it's still your 10th house of your visible reputation, and it's ruled by Venus, who's in the 8th house of chunky money. So it's so darn good, but also could be women behind the scenes in your working on your behalf. So for Leos, this is a glow up around your sense of self-worth, self-value, how you show up in the world, how great your hair looks, how you're being mirrored by the others in your life as this amazing person that brings light and healing into the world. And then you're shining brightly in the top of the sky in the 2 weeks after this. Whoa, look at me, I'm so amazing. I don't know, what can I say? It looks pretty darn good. Go and ask yourself if you've been stuck in any ruts in your career, because this is angular and you've got that Albion. Where have you been on autopilot doing things as steady as she goes? And now there's a Uranian disruption to that as well, as you break free of the old structures in your career and reputation part of your sky to do something new that looks really good on you. And if there's any chance that you have an opportunity to really, go for it in terms of the internet. Uranus rules the internet. This is like you're invited to a podcast, you're invited to do something in the public sphere using internet technology. This is also going to look really good in the 2 weeks that follow. Go back, as I said, for everyone to the last week of July, the first 2 weeks of August. This is all stories that were in play then that are returning again for some fullness. Okay, and we're going to change the sign. I'm getting this down to a fine art. I should use my mouse. I don't have to reach. What am I thinking? Fine art of moving this little screen around. And oh, guys, I can't wait to teach my Sky Reader course, Virgos. I'm telling you about it. It's coming up. Oh, Sky Reader's coming up soon in March, April. It's 8 weeks, and I'm so jazzed. I've revised the course. This will be my third time teaching it to make it even better than it was based on feedback from my students. I have a lot of great quotes from students, and I haven't put them on the website because I'm so busy. But most people find it's the first time they can be their own astrologer and time their best life with any modicum of ability. And some people are so excited by it that they're like totally like falling into like deep love of astrology. If you want to do that, please join up. Sky Reader has a wait list. It's got about 80 people on it. I usually don't actually get it to the public before the wait list sells out. I don't like to have too big a class, and the reason is I want to focus on your homework and be able to handle it. So I usually cap it at no more than 50 people. Okay, so moving on to the next part of the narrative is Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. There is a full moon shining for you brightly, full of well, as I said, for everybody, a bit of the potential for some dramatic change because of the Uranus quality to this moon, but the moon is shining brightly in a very subtle place. This is not going to rock your world. It's in your 12th house behind the scenes of your real life. It's often a place that can be about things that are going on in your subconscious and unconscious mind, your past life, your karma. There's a sense of diving into your own self-sabotage, self-defeating habits and patterns, but you're shining a full light here. Did you shine any full lights into this part of your world before? Maybe you have. It would be like this time of year usually where you get introspective. But you planted some seeds here in the end of July, the first 2 weeks of August, to really bust through and break through any limiting patterns around your father relationship, self-worth. It's because the 9th house is involved with Uranus, around your father figure relationships, things to do with your school, your higher education, your college, your campuses, your belief in God, your faith in the universe, to do with foreign shores and foreign lands. All those things are activated as they were last July. They're activated August, July. They're also activated here again on February 5th, add 2 weeks. So there could be some very mundane way this plays out. A shocking, sudden, exciting opportunity to take a trip abroad, right? Because 12 and 9 are foreign shores. And this could be very happy and exciting for you, and you're just full of joy and excitement because this is suddenly come your way, and you're like, hallelujah. And if it's going to happen, you're going to hear about it sometime around February 5th, add 2 weeks, or even take the trip. Now, also, you have some really exciting developments, like totally to do with your spiritual faith and the belief in God. Now, I say God liberally. I don't want to make it into like we know God the Father, creator of heaven and earth. No, not at all. Why are people trying to enter my Zoom room? Let me just tell them no. And it's more like your spiritual faith in God kind of thing. Let me tell this person there's no class. I'm so sorry. And now I'm going to remove them from the room. It's almost like the shadow of Mercury retrograde. Could it be that? Could that be what's going on? All right. I mean, I know people don't want to miss the meeting, but you don't want to show up 2 hours before a meeting. Like, That's kind of funny. I think it's a Patreon thing. Okay, that's happening. I'm going to close that and say goodbye to that person. This has been going on since I started this video. I have a Patreon group meeting in an hour and a half. So, um, so Virgo, what else was I telling you? I'm losing my thread. I apologize. And is that blurry? I think I'm losing the light. Yeah, sorry, Virgo. So it's not about God in a traditional sense necessarily. The 12th house is illumination called moksha. It's spiritual illumination from the depths. It's the Buddha awakening, you know, it's the spiritual attainment awakening energy that could be activated for you. But if you do want to get rid of any addictions, self-defeating habits and patterns that influence your health, especially, this is Asclepia, the miracle healer in the 6th house of sickness with, you know, the light bringer Lucifer and Saturn in dignity, shining a bright light into this darker place of your sky that you don't see. The moon is illuminating things in the 12th. Some of you are looking at a miracle healing or a deep turnaround with health challenges as a result of this February 5th full moon, and looked at ways you may have planted seeds to heal some ongoing health challenges last July and August. Finally, there could be some breakthroughs in the workspace here for you, where somebody in power that gives you a healing offer that increases your success in your work. And there's some backroom deals and negotiations that are underway to get that off the ground because of the moon in the house of the backroom deals and negotiations. But if you're an academic like my daughter, Virgo rising, and you're in university, for instance, this could be very much some exciting developments that are full of change and excitement to break away from ruts and routines in your higher educational setting, but it also looks good on your health. So I don't know what to say about that. And lastly, any travel that you take can be very connected to improving your health as well. During the February 5th, add 2 weeks, and consider, did you travel in June, July? In July and August, did that impact your health in a positive way as well? Because it's so intense, very intense energy, some of you may be thinking of reconsidering where you live. This can look like a move for some of you, if your floating IC is in the 3rd house, especially to a foreign country, or the possibility of planning that and thinking about a relocation of great power and significance. I hope that's useful for you as a Virgo, and let's continue going. Let me know in the comments, I read them all, how this did play out for you if you want to come back later, and I would love to hear. I learn about astrology, how it really works, because you guys tell me how it really works. And that's what happens when you saw 4,000 clients over 4 years. Not kid you not. I got called out on Zoom for holding those in recordings in their iCloud. They didn't see that I did that, and I had to manually delete 4,000 client readings. What a crazy time that was a week and a half ago. Moving on to the next sign, which is obviously Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. In your story, Libra, there is a giant, big, full light moon on your, well, not on your, in your 11th house of good spirit. It's a very lucky place. It's a very fortunate house, full of your karmic rewards, and full of fairy godmother, father, and full of pennies from heaven and great gains from your career, and the place where you incubate your wishes and goals and dreams for your career purpose in life in general. So this full moon is shining a light, and it's coming off of something that you're receding in the end of July and the beginning of August of 2022. I mean, last week of July, first 2 weeks of August, after the new moon that happened there. And now the seed is coming to fullness, and it's a big full light. It's reflecting Asclepius, the healer, and the sun, and the light bringer Lucifer, and Saturn, all bundled up together in your 5th house of children, pregnancy, romantic love, things to do with your independent business endeavors, things to do with your creativity and the muse. All of this is shining at this moon in the 11th house. And the 11th house can be groups of people that you do things with as well, like belonging to the Society of Bird Watchers or the Club for Astrologers. So there's a light up here, and it's bringing you maybe a reflection of a deeper joy, but also you may have been healing something. Are you healing a romance with a loved one? Are you healing a relationship, a romantic relationship, or your own sexuality? Are you healing your own sexuality or your relationship to your own sexuality and your joy and your romance in this time of February 5th, add 2 weeks? I mean, Saturn's been in your 5th house of joy and sexuality and romance, and it's been a downer, and it's been there for like 2.5 years. So there's that. So there may be some healing going on here. The disruptive and exciting yet exhilarating energy of Uranus is in the 8th house of secrets, family secrets, partner secrets, or other people's money, like banks and mortgages and investments and shared resources with a partner. So this is exciting in a lot of ways because Venus, who owns the Uranian jolt, is exalted in your sixth house of debts. So it looks like a lot of you Libras can have a sudden exciting opportunity to pay off a debt or to secure a debt like a mortgage to leverage your money in a very exciting and exhilarating way. All right. You're going to try to find more joy though with this moon that really satisfies you. And some of that joy may be coming into your life because you're hanging out with people. You're not spending your time alone. The moon is very sociable and popular in the 11th house and it's full. And so are you having fullness in the 2 weeks of February 5th onward, enjoying the company of people you actually like? It's very possible that you're coming into just a fullness in that way as well. But I do think that there's a bit of the money luck energy that can be activated by Sun, Asclepius. So there's some good financial fortune in the 2 weeks that follow this moon as well. Saturn rules your house of land, property, and real estate. And for some of you, it might be buying, selling, or leasing property, especially with Venus exalted in the house of leases. Whether you're the one who's leasing or leasing it to another, this is all juicy. February 5th, add 2 weeks. And then finally, your children could be involved. If you have children, you could be healing a relationship with your children. You may do this by talking deep intimacy, revealing secrets. They reveal the secret to you. The relationship finds healing. And then you go out and have a good time at the restaurant. And you talk about how you healed something. The moon in the 11th house. How's that how's that sound? Not too bad, eh? Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. The 10th house, yeah. Big deal stuff for you. Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about the meaning of the 10th house for a minute. I get this every single time. You don't have to have a career. You could be a student. You could be a homemaker. It's just your visible praxis or actions in the world by which you are distinguished and people see you doing something. It's a karmesha house or mesha house in Vedic astrology. It's connected to the karmic actions you take in the world. So consider that that's the gist of this for some Scorpios who don't have career job in their life. There's a full moon shining in this part of your sky that has been seeded from something going on in the end of July and the beginning of August. If you want to go back to that time, you'll be able to connect the dot. Trust me, you will connect the dot. Usually I can anyway. What seeds were you planting for some kind of career success? Because you're shining brightly in the top of the sky, you are big, bold, and full. Now, if some of you could complete a career objective or project or direction, because full moons will also be what we harvest from what we planted back in the summer of 22. As well, there is a lot of energy going on from the 4th house of your private domestic life, your home. Saturn's been here for 2.5 years. Your home life has felt somewhat hard and constrained and strained and stern and stoic. You may have had an elder live with you or felt alone and lonely in your home, even when someone lives with you. And as this is going on over 2.5, 3 years, and it's ending this March, this is kind of the last salvo of Saturn. He's with the sun, which can be about shining some kind of leaderful activity or purposeful activity that's quite healing going on in your home. If you're considering selling or buying real estate, because there's Uranus in the house of legal contracts and breaking up the status quo of how things have been done with Albion here, there's some of you may actually be looking at a possible real estate deal or contract coming February 5th at 2 weeks. This looks more like, to me, a sale or a purchase, not a rental situation. Venus is in the house of children and pregnancy, which means a lot of Scorpios could be looking at a pregnant spouse or partner, or you're the one who's pregnant. Just be careful for that, okay? Especially with Uranus giving you unexpected pregnancies right now as a risk factor in your 7th, sextiling your 5th. But it also means that Venus is in a very joyful place. She's in the house of her joy. She owns the house where this sort of jolt and shock and awe comes from your 7th house. So if your partner, for example, says, "I'm pregnant, honey," there's a lot of joy around this announcement. Or, for example, one of your children may have a joyful announcement, all right, for example. I kind of find that this looks a lot for some of you Scorpios like a real powerful career breakthrough. And you may you're doing it because of some work you've been doing, healing something in the 4th. And sometimes the 4th house is like your ancestral line junk in the trunk, like what your mother told you, you'll never amount to anything, or what your ancestors thought, this family never gets rich, or we're never successful, or something. There's some stories that you can be completely healing at even an unconscious level that are going to turn around your career success in February 5th, add 2 weeks. And if you go away on a leisure trip with the one you love, this looks really good as well. But it's not so directly connected to the career success story or the real estate contract story. It's a little bit off to the side. But since Venus isn't her joy in your romance house, this is good for your romantic life and meeting someone new. But that's another reading. Go back and watch my video about Venus in Aquarius. I think you'll really enjoy that because Scorpios are getting a lot of juice out of it. It's already came out sometime on January 26th, the day I'm recording this. It's already in my playlist. To continue on and to the next sign of Sagittarius, Sagittarius sun, Sagittarius moon, but most often accurate rising sign people. What happens when this big full moon filled with the potential for great change and electrifying, exhilarating excitement happens in the ninth house? I wonder. Could you be going to a foreign land, moving to a foreign land, meeting somebody in a foreign land, having a great experience of fullness in a foreign land, academic setting, book publishing world, religious and spiritual community setting? That's what could happen with a full moon here, but you may have planted the seeds in July and also in August. You know, my ex-husband's Sagittarius sun is moving to Portugal. Yes, he started to get the paperwork in order last July and August. Big full moon would be fruition of his move to Portugal from Canada. I use him as an example because I know him. It's easy to use. For the person who complained about me using my real people as examples, if I don't give examples, I'm not educating properly. All right, illustrating properly, anecdotally. The energy of the moon is reflecting a healing solar energy, Asclepius sun, Saturn in the third house, where you could have felt constrained for the last 2.5 years around things to do with trips and travel, and you wanted to, but you couldn't. There was no opportunity. Pandemic made that true for all of us. You may have felt constrained around getting any kind of enjoyment at all in your local neighborhood environment, with your neighbors, with the area you live in. Now things are picking up, and you're going to be feeling a healing vibe as you maybe experience a new neighborhood in a foreign land or a new vibe in your academic studies. You know, Saturn in your third house would have made studying hard, really, because you learn skills-based things in the third house, and now you get a full moon in more of an academic setting where you don't have with more college and campuses. So some of you could be breakthrough things to do with your college campus setting stuff. I mean, the month of February could be getting an early acceptance at a university, for example, for any of you who are that age who are thinking of going to school. And it's also very exciting because the exhilaration of Uranus, wow, in your sixth house of karmic debt and real life debt, pets and tendencies. Oh, I don't know, things that you do in the work and job. But you know, the energy of Uranus is connecting to the third and the ninth. That's the square energy. So, you could find yourself getting an unexpected development positive that influences you in your debts, you know, regarding your ability to travel to a country, a foreign country, or secure a loan or something for school, or to pay off a student debt even for some of you. It's a really hard one to parse sometimes. I mean, there could be involvement with pets and travel that are sudden, shocking, and unexpected. But there also could be connections to landlords and leases that are exciting as well during this time. And you may rent a place in a foreign land or shore. Venus is the holder of the lease and pet space of your sixth house, while she's exalted in the fourth house of home. So I'm going to say for some Sages, it's something to do with securing a beautiful home or a beautiful place to rent if you're traveling. If you're dating somebody new, this could be an exciting trip with that person that brings a deep sense of homecoming when it comes to love. Okay, there you go. I'm not going to explain the reason I say everything, but that's what I'm getting from that. And you need to break out of any ruts. Sixth house ruts can be, you got a rut in your job, you got a rut in your debt, you got a rut with your pet, you got a rut with those things, and now you're breaking those ruts as this full moon shines brightly in the ninth house of God. And by the way, that's the house of the moon. That's the moon in that house, but that's a house where the sun has its joy, and the sun is across the way. They're kind of in a mutual reception, because the moon has its joy in the third house where the sun is sitting, and the third has its joy, sun has its joy in the ninth. So the moon and sun are working together. So I'm going to say that seems positive, that mutual reception as they're in each other's joy houses. And this moon is flowing towards your body. Your fiery Sag rising, the moon is flowing from the ninth house towards you. So again, you're one of those signs that feels this, you know, energy in a positive way, and you're not going to feel like this is a jarring energy. More so, you're going to find it positive, and especially if your Sagittarius sun, moon, and rising is near that 16th degree where all the action is happening. Okay, I've got about 15 minutes to finish before I have to pick up my daughter and then hit my Patreon community. Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. No, I forgot Capricorn. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising sign. I'm sorry, Capricorn. That's a glitch in my matrix. In Vedic astrology, I'm a Capricorn rising, guys. And so maybe I just always skip it over sometimes because I'm like, am I really a Cap rising? Capricorn rising, sun, moon, and all of that. Big full light shining up in the moon at 16 degrees of your eighth house of chunky money. This is investment money and, inheritance money and spousal shared resources. There's a light here, and sometimes that looks like you can see more clearly the things that you need to see around shared monies with other people. Maybe you see that the loan structure is not so great, or that your partner's money situation isn't what you thought, or things like that, business and love partners. However, there is a feeling as well, because you have the sun in the second house of your earnings, and it's reflecting that moon, like the moon's reflecting the solar light. You're healing something to do with your finances. Asclepius is the healer sitting on the sun. The light bringer is there as well. You're shining a healing light on your cash flow, your cash reserves, the way you make money, the way you have enough food, shelter, water needs to meet your basic needs in life. And the moon is full here. Did you plant any seeds for greater prosperity in stocks, inheritances, investments, loans, mortgages? Did you plant any seeds here back in the day of last August, last July, like the last week of July, the first 2 weeks of August? You may have. And now it's coming to a fullness as well, because there's a stellium of energy here. Well, basically it's Uranus North Node and a couple of asteroids in your fifth house of money luck. I won't lie, there could be some money luck here. Venus is the ruler of the fifth house, and she's exalted in Pisces right now. But if you're going to get money luck, it's local. It's like you play the local lottery, or you do some third house things, or a sibling brings you some money, financial luck somehow. The other thing I'd say is that if you have children, your children could be an opportune energy for you, where something exciting is happening with them that benefits you financially. So maybe they have a bunch of money and they want to give it to you. Exciting developments can happen regarding your children, but also your finances. If you are with somebody who could get pregnant, be careful, because you could get pregnant on a trip. Venus in the house of trips and travel, owning the luscious house of Uranus, unexpected pregnancy. So be careful, Capricorn, rising especially, that if you don't want to have a baby, because this is kind of unexpected pregnancy possibility during trips or travel during the 2 weeks that follow the February 5th moon. But if you want a child, that's wonderful. And sometimes I find that a full moon in the eighth house is just going to shed some light on something you need to really be able to see about your money, and yet there's some excitement about what you can see, because I think that a Venusian ruled shock and awe can only be good. Like you discover you actually had inheritance money due you never got, or you find out that your 401k, which is down the dump, suddenly pops because one thing turns around, or some kind of a sense of illumination around those kinds of monies that you might have invested or inherited or shared with a spouse, looking better than you thought. It's how I'm feeling this looks for you. It's because Venus is so beautifully placed in your third house, and she's loving up your fifth, and that's got some money, luck, and charm to it. Certainly you can also play the lottery. So this is one of the signs that can do well with the lottery, because there's an unexpected money, luck energy breaking you out of a rut from the fifth house flowing towards your first. So yeah, what the heck, for you guys, plays the lottery, maybe local lottery. So don't think about like running off to do the US Powerball if you live in Canada. I mean, make it the domestic lottery for sure. And then we're going to do Aquarius. And now I'm going to change the picture, which I seem to have lost my little screen to do that. Where did it go? If you're in the live premiere and you have yet to hit my like button, now's your chance. And check my Sky Reader course out starting in March. Divine Timing Masterclass has been pushed till the summer because of my schedule's too busy with clients, and I just felt I was going to take on too much. And I want to nurture my body as well as my mind and my heart, and soul. So yeah. But the next class is Sky Reader, the next big class. I have monthly classes too. You know more about that if you go to my website and check the page about Learn Astrology. Every month I teach a class. You can also just do mini courses with me, and Patreon gets big discounts on that, and ad-free content and a bunch of super perks. Like, check out my Patreon community. You might, for $5 a month, just want to jump in. Alrighty, here we go. Aquarius, I'm you. I have a rising sign Aquarius around 15, 16, well, 16 degrees. I rectified my chart. It was a little earlier, but the rectification has worked on timing. Now, you're going to be seeing a big full energy in the house of committed relationship. This seventh house can also be about your audience, your marketplace, your clients. That's 10th from the 10th. It's those people you serve as you reach out into the world to serve your clients and customers kind of vibe. But it's also your business partners, if you have them, and your committed love stories, you know, not just the flings, but the ones you're going to commit to. A full light will show you who, where, and who you need to commit to if you need to commit to anything and anyone at all. Also, your partner may have a full event in their life, which is lovely because it's maybe about their story and they're shining into a big fullness of something completing in their narrative that looks successful for them, perhaps, and exciting. If you go back to the last week of July and the first 2 weeks of August, what themes were going on about reaching audiences, about being big and bright there, about connecting to clients, about relationship commitments. All right, I'll use me as an example. It was when I started to go viral on my channel, or viral that's overstatement, but you know, I was plodding along, and suddenly in July and August, when this stuff was being activated, I suddenly had these massive growths of 2,000 subscribers a month, and last month it was 2,400, and sometimes it goes down to 1,600, 1,500, but you get the idea. Before that, I was plodding along at 200 or 300 subscribers a month until late July, early August. So it was a turning point in my lunar energy in the 7th. That's when I was planting seeds in my 7th. And what were the seeds I planted? I decided to go for it and just do a lot of content. That's all I changed. I just started to put 30 videos out a month. It was my decision like at the middle of the summer to go full bore on my channel. I'm so glad I did. Now, the idea here is that if it's about commitment in your life, then you may be looking at this from a very exciting, but also very dramatic energy, because there's a healing that you're doing within yourself as an Aquarius. Asclepius and the sun and Saturn and the light bringer Lucifer are all piled up in the house of you. You are looking at your solar energy, your soul, your internal self, your deepest core essential self, the Aquarian energy, sun, moon, and rising. It all influences you. And because the sun is in Aquarius, it's definitely important to know that the essence of you is really being investigated and healed. I mean, I'm an Aquarius, and I wrote a poem long ago about love, and it's all about, you know, God would never say, sorry, I'm taken. I'm pretty big at free love energy sometimes, but maybe I'm looking more deeply at that concept of loving everyone, but maybe loving no one deeply, or something like that. I'm making shit up. I'm just trying to say, how are you as an Aquarius going to really dive into what needs to be healed in your life regarding how you meet the others in your life, whether they're romantic, love partners, business partners, or audience. And yet there's a shock and awe of excitement coming from the 4th house because Uranus is down there, and this is the house of the ancestors. So maybe you'll break from an ancestral belief or mother and father stories about life and romance and love, and you're kind of breaking free quickly and suddenly with an epiphany, insight, aha, and revelation. Or there's another change in your home. Oh my God, we've been through it. We have been through it. Nomadic transit Uranus here since 2019. Well, I think it started in 2018, but anyway, the long story short, it ends in 2026, and we have been nomadic. We have been disrupted about where we live. But if this is going to disrupt where we live, it's not really, it could be connected to something that's going on with our clients or significant love partners. Or if you don't have one, you may find one during this transit, big light in the 7th house, possibly. But it's kind of like maybe there's a move because, you know, a client says, hey, you know, I've got a property and I don't need it. Do you want to live in my property while I'm away? Or maybe a romantic partner says, hey, you know, do you want to move where I live? Or should we move into a place together? Now, it's February 5th, add 2 weeks, and it's not going to happen out of the blue. You would have to have planted seeds for this kind of stuff last July and August. For some of you, it's just going to be some excitement around property, land, home, and real estate matters. And Venus is doing a love up in your money house. Wow. She's like exalting you there, and she's bringing a huge amount of juice to that part of your sky. For sure, you may also unearth some buried treasures of wealth that you didn't know you had as she looks across at your 8th house where Orcus is sitting, the god of wealth in the underworld. Also the punisher of broken oaths, but still an underworld god. So an underworld god in your 8th house is like, do you have hidden money you don't know about? Is there money that you never got, never saw the light of day, stayed in the underworld, like an investment or, you know, an inheritance bit of money that was due you and now it's going to come through? Just examples of what Venus can pull off exalted in your 2nd house. And uh-oh, shoot. I think my Bluetooth just tried to connect to my AirPods. If it did, I might have lost my mic. That will suck. I hope it wasn't doing that all along. Okay. Wouldn't that be awful if this whole thing was you couldn't hear me? I have to just continue and hope that the Bluetooth connecting to my iPods, charging 2 rooms over, didn't disrupt my mic in the other videos. I just turned the Bluetooth off. I don't think it did. Let me go back and look at, I can't do anything now. I'm going to only find out after I finish all of this recording that you guys could hear nothing. Would that be really effing awful? Oh my God, really? You think that Zoom would tell me it was changing this, microphone though, right? Let me take a look. My audio says I'm on the Yeti mic still, and I have Yeti selected. Okay, so now I'm really fretting, as you can only imagine, but there's nothing I can do to change that if that's what happened. Hopefully it would just click the headphones in, not that. All right, moving onward. I think we're moving onward, so get ready for that, and we're going to do Pisces. So look for some exciting developments regarding commitment, home, real estate, property, and money for property or property investment monies or all kinds of good stuff like that. Fullness of this coming through your sky, and yay you, especially February 5th, add 2 weeks. Finally moving to the last sign, which is Pisces, and then we're done. Sorry, Pisces, I'm digging through the Zoom back in to get you up so you can see your little picture like everyone else. And sometimes you think I guys probably think I complain. I think I have to be careful. My mother was a complainer, but I do not like trolls who make comments like hit and run artists. If I respond to your trolly comment, stick around for the answer, and don't do that. Thank you. And for the Pisces who I keep talking about, who said I give sloppy seconds to you guys, well, the very video you criticized, I didn't. Your video is 4 minutes long, just like the other people before you. Your section of the video. Yes. Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. It is getting dark here. But now I have this coolio little light, this portable. Oh, it's not too bad, actually. Maybe I didn't need it because now the light doesn't look as bad as I thought. But I decided to try this little light to see if I could brighten the story. So continuing on. Let's go ahead and talk about Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. Pisces, this is a big, beautiful full moon in Leo at 16 degrees. It's happening in your 6th house. Now, you're not able to always see the 6th house that well. It's called an inversion, but it is where your health stuff is and your job stuff, the daily job, the work job, the co-worker space, the place of employment. You can just use the word job, but also health and health protocols and routines, pets, rentals, such as tenancies, renting a place, or being the leasee or leaseor, and debt. Now, a big full moon here could shed light on your debt situation so you can resolve it. That doesn't mean it's going to fix it by any chance, but make you see it clearly. The big full moon could show light on pet situations, especially if a pet's having a health challenge. And this big full moon could shed some light on you and your own health and your health challenges. And because the moon is reflecting Asclepius, the healer, in the house of your subconscious, unconscious mind, karmic and karma patterns, past lives, and things you do that defeat your very own health, addictions and sabotaging patterns, you are in a big soul work energy that improves your health, but may put you on a greater path. February 5th, add 2 weeks to fullness of enjoyment of your work that you're here to do in the world, and also eliminate any kinds of situations of burdensome debt. But for all this to be true, you must look back to July of 2022 to the first 2 weeks of August, coming off that new moon in Leo, when you planted seeds in this part of your narrative. You could find that this is an energy that has to do with a lunar figure in the workplace, which is a female in the workplace, full, bringing some kind of powerful light to your situation when it comes to career and work, as an example, or health. A big full moon here in the house of sickness could also give you a completion of a health challenge. If you've been suffering with on and off health challenges since July, August, then the seeds were planted to finish this problem up and complete the actual challenge, and therefore the health problem can begin to go away February 5th add 2 weeks. You've got, healer energy. Asclepius could do miracle healings, and he's right across from this moon. So I'd say one of the best things is psychological, spiritual, emotional healing, but also physical healing. But I would encourage you to look at the non-ordinary, like hypnosis, Reiki, all of that stuff, because that's 12th house types of healing. All right, so look down that rabbit hole for really turning around EMDR, tapping, these kinds of non-ordinary healing modalities look really good for you right now. Now, Uranus, North Node, Albion, where are you in a rut with regards to trips, travel, local neighborhood situations, siblings, learning, online skills and based learning, your website? Is your website in a rut? Is your social media life in a rut? Is your relationship to your aunts, uncles, cousins, siblings in a rut, or is it on a status quo? Because that's where Uranus is disrupting the narrative. But as he disrupts that narrative and sends little bolts of shock and awe towards your moon in the sixth house, there also could be disruptions coming from a sibling. Like a sibling could be disrupting things for you regarding debt. Now, it could be positive. Why? Because Venus is exalted in the house of you, owning the sibling house where disruption happens. So like make a fantastical story, the sibling wins the lottery and pays off your debts. My sister's a Pisces rising and would love to do that for her. But it's like, it's positive disruption because it's happening in Venus's house of siblings, trips and travel, but it's being loved up by Venus. You may have a sudden opportunity to travel with a sibling or to see a sibling or vice versa, or you may have a sudden opportunity to do something in your local neighborhood to beautify yourself because Venus is in the house of you, spa treatments, hairstyles, local neighborhood, shock and awe, sudden thing that a new place opens up 2 doors down that you've never seen, you go to it and you look more beautiful. These are micro stories within the big picture of something larger. I've been saying for a while, it looks like some of you Pisces rising have issues around where you're going to live because it looks like there's a leaky boat in the house of foreign lands. If ever you move to another country that doesn't belong to your homeland, there could be a change of that over the next year and a half, actually, given what's going on in your chart. But it could be some of that stuff is coming to your awareness now. At the very least, a lot of you look like you're having a change of neighborhood over the next few months. And this is a moon that's a part of that direction towards a neighborhood change, maybe renting a new home, renting out a home, possibly buying a home. It's hard to say. Mars is in the 4th house, but he'll be leaving on March the 25th. If you're going to buy a home, you might have done that already, or renovate a home as well. And I think that's good. I feel like what you guys are really doing is a very deeply karmatic realignment. And the sub stories have to do with things in your neighborhood or siblings, maybe facilitating that as well. Venus is trying to give you self-worth, self-love, to feel exalted in your beingness, and trying to show you you're really, really an unconditionally loving being when she's exalting the house of you. And so maybe this is going to be a big glow up in unconditional love for yourself as you're being reflected back by a sibling, an aunt, uncle, cousin, niece, or nephew about how worthy you really are being a special being, a Pisces being. The mystic poet of the zodiac. We need you guys. You're important. You're important in the big scheme of reality. We need the dreamers. We need the visionaries. We need the imaginators. You're all of that. Thank you for all listening. If you're in my live and your premiere, please hit my like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to check my description box because I have a lot of stuff I offer there, and you'll scroll through. There's a lot of stuff. There's freebies, a ton of giveaways, or very deeply discounted replays on courses I've taught already. Thank you for being here, and happy full moon. And let's see what happens with the collective. Any of you have listened to my beginning stuff about disruptions in the pandemic stuff as it applies to structures and rules and maybe whistleblowers even. Let's see what happens. I know a lot of you unsubscribed. I just know you can't talk this stuff anymore to anybody. But it's funny, that old meme that was going around that the conspiracy theories eventually were the facts, but there's a funny meme about it. Things that were considered to be verboten, you couldn't speak it aloud, like the Wuhan lab leak story, which is now more or less accepted by most scientists, or the fact that myocarditis is rife with the vaccine as a side effect for mRNA, meaning heart damage. These things are now well documented. And by the way, just a little sidebar, I should have said in the beginning, the UK has now ceased and desisted any public vaccination campaigns are done for anybody under the age of 50. And that just happened in the week of January 26th. So let's see what happens as this whole thing unfolds for the world. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a pretty intense next year. I see class action lawsuits as Pluto moves in March into Aquarius against government bodies that foisted a medical procedure on an unwilling, reluctant public. Okay, moving on to the next video you'll be seeing from me. It will probably be, I have no idea what I'm going to do next. Anyway, thanks, guys. Ciao, ciao. Have a wonderful day. Hit the like button. Big hugs.